Are you noticing little changes lately? Maybe those nighttime trips to the bathroom are becoming a bit too frequent. Or you're experiencing discomfort that wasn't there in your younger years. It can be frustrating, can't it? Feeling like your body isn't quite cooperating the way it used to, especially when it comes to something as fundamental as urinary health. For many of us over 60, these changes are common, but they don't have to be an inevitable part of aging. There's often a secret hidden in plain sight, something we interact with every single day that can make a surprising difference. What if I told you that some of the foods you might be enjoying could actually be contributing to those very issues? Urologists see this all the time, and they have some clear warnings about what we put on our plates. In this video, we're going to look at 5 specific foods or types of food that urologists often flag as problematic for people over 60 and why avoiding or reducing them can make a real difference in your comfort and quality of life. It's not about drastic changes, but about making informed choices. And make sure you watch right to the very end, because I'll share something that might truly surprise you about how simple these changes can be. Let's start with the very first food type that often comes up in conversations about urinary health. Especially as we get older, highly processed foods. Think about those convenient snacks, packaged meals, and fast food items that are so easy to grab when you're busy or don't feel like cooking a big meal. They're everywhere, aren't they? And they can be surprisingly appealing. But the truth is, these foods are often loaded with things that aren't doing our bodies any favors. Particularly when it comes to our urinary tract and bladder as we age, processed foods tend to be high in sodium, unhealthy fats, artificial additives, and sometimes hidden sugars. Why does this matter for your urological health after 60? Well, excess sodium, for one, can lead to increased fluid retention in the body. While this might not seem directly related to your bladder, it can affect your overall fluid balance and put extra strain on your kidneys, which are vital for filtering waste and producing urine. Over time, this added pressure isn't ideal, but it's more than just the salt. The array of artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives found in many processed foods can act as irritants to the bladder lining. Imagine your bladder as a sensitive organ. Introducing these artificial substances can sometimes cause it to become more reactive, potentially leading to increased urgency, frequency, or even discomfort. It's like constantly exposing a sensitive area to things that poke and prod it. Beyond irritation, many processed foods contribute to systemic inflammation in the body. Chronic, low-grade inflammation is something we want to avoid as much as possible as we age, as it's linked to a whole host of health problems. And yes, inflammation can absolutely affect the urinary tract and prostate. For men over 60, an enlarged prostate is a common issue, leading to symptoms like difficulty starting urination, a weak stream, or feeling like you haven't completely emptied your bladder. While diet isn't the only factor, foods that promote inflammation can potentially exacerbate these symptoms. For women, inflammation can contribute to bladder sensitivity and increase the risk of urinary tract infections (UTIs), which unfortunately become more common after menopause due to hormonal changes. The unhealthy fats often found in processed foods, particularly trans fats and excessive saturated fats, are major culprits in promoting this kind of inflammation throughout the body, including the pelvic region. So, what can you do about it? It's not about never touching a processed food item again. That's probably unrealistic for most of us. It's about awareness and making conscious choices most of the time. When you're grocery shopping, try to spend more time in the outer aisles where the fresh produce, lean proteins, and whole grains are. Read labels. Even on things that seem simple, look for lower sodium options and foods with shorter ingredient lists that you recognize. Instead of reaching for that bag of chips, maybe grab some unsalted nuts or a piece of fruit. Instead of a prepackaged meal, try making a simple meal from fresh ingredients. It doesn't have to be complicated. Cooking at home allows you to control exactly what goes into your food, especially the amount of salt and the types of fats used. Even small swaps can make a big difference over time. Choosing a less processed version of something you enjoy, like opting for plain yogurt over a flavored, sweetened one, or making your own salad dressing instead of buying a bottle filled with additives, can add up. It's about shifting your habits gradually. Reducing your intake of highly processed foods can help calm inflammation, potentially reduce bladder irritation, and support overall kidney function, leading to fewer uncomfortable symptoms and a greater sense of control over your urinary health as you go about your day. Think about how much more comfortable you might feel without that constant urge or discomfort. It's worth exploring, isn't it? Now that we've talked about cutting back on those highly processed convenience foods and why they can be tough on your system, let's move on to another category that might be adding unnecessary stress to your bladder and kidneys: excessive caffeine and alcohol. Now, I'm not here to tell you that you can never enjoy a cup of coffee or a glass of wine again. That's not realistic or enjoyable, but moderation, especially as we get older, becomes incredibly important. And here's why. Both caffeine and alcohol are known diuretics, meaning they increase urine production. For someone who is already dealing with frequency or urgency, adding more fuel to that fire isn't helpful. Caffeine, found in coffee, tea, some sodas, and even chocolate, is also a known bladder irritant. It can stimulate the bladder muscle, leading to more frequent and sudden urges to urinate. Imagine your bladder is like a muscle that gets a little jumpy and overactive when exposed to caffeine. It signals that it needs to empty more often, even if it's not completely full. This can be particularly bothersome at night, disrupting sleep, or when you're out and about, making you constantly aware of where the nearest restroom is. For many people over 60, the bladder lining becomes more sensitive, and caffeine seems to exacerbate this sensitivity. Alcohol has similar effects. It's a diuretic, increasing how much you pee, and it can also interfere with the signals between your brain and bladder that tell you when it's truly time to go. This can lead to increased urgency and frequency, sometimes making it harder to hold on. Furthermore, alcohol can dehydrate you overall, paradoxically leading to more concentrated urine later on, which can be irritating to the bladder lining and potentially increase the risk of UTIs. For men, alcohol can sometimes worsen prostate-related symptoms, especially at night. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. Enjoying a drink or two occasionally is one thing, but regular or excessive consumption can definitely put extra strain on your urinary system and contribute to those uncomfortable symptoms we talked about. So, how do you manage this? It's about finding a balance that works for you. If you love your morning coffee, try having just one cup instead of several throughout the day. Or consider switching to decaf coffee or herbal teas, which don't have the same diuretic and irritating effects. Be mindful of other hidden sources of caffeine, like certain soft drinks or energy drinks, which are often loaded with sugar and other additives as well. When it comes to alcohol, try to limit yourself to 1 or 2 drinks on occasion rather than making it a daily habit. Pay attention to how your body responds after you consume caffeine or alcohol. Do you notice an immediate increase in frequency or urgency? If so, that's your body telling you it might be sensitive to it. Staying well hydrated throughout the day with plain water is crucial, as this helps dilute your urine, making it less irritating to the bladder. Sometimes, simply swapping out one caffeinated beverage for a glass of water can make a noticeable difference in how often you need to use the restroom. It's not about deprivation, but about smart substitutions and listening to your body's cues. Making these adjustments with caffeine and alcohol can significantly improve bladder control and reduce nighttime awakenings, contributing to better sleep and overall comfort. Moving on from drinks, let's talk about something else many people enjoy but which can be quite irritating to the bladder: spicy foods. Now, for those of you who love a bit of heat in your meals, this might be tough to hear. Spicy food, while delicious to many, contains compounds that can actually irritate the lining of the bladder as your body processes them, and they pass through your urinary system. Think of it this way: the same compounds that make your mouth feel like it's on fire can have a similar, though less intense, Effect on the sensitive tissues of your bladder wall. This irritation can manifest as increased urgency, frequency, or even a burning sensation during urination for some individuals. It's not everyone who reacts this way, of course, and some people are more sensitive than others. But if you notice that your bladder symptoms seem worse after you've had a meal with a significant kick, there might be a connection. This is especially true for people who are already dealing with conditions like interstitial cystitis or an overactive bladder, where the bladder lining is already more sensitive. Adding spicy food to that mix can really exacerbate the symptoms, making daily life uncomfortable and unpredictable, even for those without specific conditions. A bladder that's perhaps less elastic or more sensitive with age can react negatively to the irritants found in chili peppers and other spicy ingredients. It's like it just adds another layer of agitation to a system that might already be a bit fragile. So, if you suspect spicy foods might be contributing to your urinary discomfort, the best approach is often one of experimentation. Try reducing the amount of spice you use in your cooking, or choose milder versions of dishes. Instead of adding extra chili flakes, maybe opt for herbs and other seasonings to add flavor. If you're eating out, ask about the spice level of dishes and don't be afraid to request less heat. You could also try eliminating spicy foods for a week or two to see if your symptoms improve, and then gradually reintroduce them in small amounts to gauge your sensitivity. It's about finding your personal tolerance level. You might discover that a little bit of spice is fine, but going all out triggers discomfort. It's about being mindful and making adjustments based on how your body feels. Reducing or eliminating spicy foods, if they are a trigger for you, can lead to a calmer, less irritated bladder, reducing those sudden urges and making you feel more in control. This simple change can have a surprising impact on your daily comfort and confidence. Now, let's talk about the next food type that can be problematic: excessive amounts of certain acidic foods and drinks. While some acidity is fine, consuming large quantities of highly acidic things can also irritate the bladder. Citrus fruits like oranges, grapefruits, lemons, and limes, and their juices, are primary examples. Tomatoes and tomato products, think pasta sauce, ketchup, tomato soup, can also be quite acidic. Cranberry juice, surprisingly for some people, is also on this list as it can irritate the bladder lining for many individuals. Despite its reputation for helping with UTIs, it helps prevent bacteria from sticking. But the acidity can still be an irritant. The acid in these foods and drinks, as it's processed and passes through the urinary system, can act on the bladder lining in a way similar to spicy foods, increasing sensitivity and leading to symptoms like frequency and urgency. It's like adding a mild irritant to an already sensitive surface. Think about starting your day with a large glass of orange juice, having a tomato-based soup for lunch, and pasta with marinara sauce for dinner. That's a lot of acidity hitting your system throughout the day. For a bladder that's potentially less resilient with age, this constant exposure can be quite bothersome. It's not about eliminating these foods entirely, as many are nutritious, but about being aware of the quantity and concentration. A small squeeze of lemon in water might be fine, but drinking several large glasses of concentrated citrus juice throughout the day could be problematic. Similarly, enjoying a small side of tomato-based sauce might be okay, but having it as the base of multiple meals could contribute to symptoms. What's the practical takeaway here? If you're experiencing bladder irritation, try reducing your intake of these highly acidic foods and drinks. Instead of citrus juice, maybe opt for water or less acidic juices like apple or pear juice in moderation. Due to sugar content, when using tomatoes, try using smaller amounts or balance them with other ingredients. Pay attention to how your bladder feels after consuming these items. If you notice an uptick in symptoms, it might be a sign to cut back. Hydrating primarily with water is key, as it helps to dilute your urine, making it less acidic and less irritating as it passes through your bladder. It's about finding that balance and understanding your body's unique response. Reducing excessive acidic foods and drinks can help soothe an irritated bladder and potentially decrease how often you feel the need to urinate, giving you more freedom and less distraction throughout your day. Finally, let's touch upon another food type that can impact not just our general health, but also our urinary system as we get older: excessive amounts of refined sugar and artificial sweeteners. Sugar, particularly in processed forms and sugary drinks, can contribute to inflammation throughout the body, much like processed foods we discussed earlier. This systemic inflammation can affect the urinary tract and bladder. Moreover, high sugar intake can potentially feed unhealthy bacteria in the body, and while not a direct cause of bladder issues, maintaining a healthy internal balance is important for overall health, including preventing UTIs, which can become more common with age. Artificial sweeteners are another area of concern for some individuals. While they don't contain sugar, many people find that artificial sweeteners can act as bladder irritants, like the additives in processed foods. These chemical compounds can sometimes trigger increased urgency or frequency in sensitive bladders. It's not a universal reaction, but it's common enough that urologists often advise patients with bladder issues to experiment with reducing or eliminating artificial sweeteners to see if their symptoms improve. Think about diet sodas, sugar-free candies, and many processed foods labeled low sugar or diet. They often contain these artificial compounds. Excessive sugar intake is also linked to weight gain and can contribute to conditions like type 2 diabetes, which has significant implications for overall health, including nerve function that affects bladder control. Managing blood sugar levels is crucial for maintaining healthy nerve function, and reducing refined sugar intake is a big part of that. For men, managing weight and blood sugar can also have a positive impact on prostate health. So, what's the practical advice? Try to reduce your intake of sugary drinks like sodas and fruit juices high in added sugar. Opt for water, unsweetened tea, or water infused with natural fruit slices instead. Cut back on desserts, candies, and baked goods made with refined sugar. If you're used to adding sugar to your coffee or tea, try gradually reducing the amount. Be mindful of hidden sugars in processed foods like breakfast cereals, sauces, and yogurts. When it comes to artificial sweeteners, if you're experiencing bladder symptoms, try eliminating them completely for a few weeks to see if there's any change. If your symptoms improve, you might find that you are sensitive to them and can choose to avoid them or use natural sweeteners like a tiny bit of honey or maple syrup sparingly. It's about reducing overall inflammation, supporting a healthier bacterial balance, and avoiding potential bladder irritants. Making conscious choices about sugar and artificial sweeteners can contribute to a calmer bladder and better overall metabolic health. So, we've covered these 5 areas: highly processed foods, excessive caffeine and alcohol, spicy foods, excessive acidic foods and drinks, and excessive refined sugar and artificial sweeteners. It might seem like a lot, but remember, it's not about perfection overnight. It's about awareness and making gradual, manageable changes. Reducing your reliance on those processed convenience foods, being mindful of how much caffeine and alcohol you consume, noticing if spicy or acidic foods trigger your symptoms, and cutting back on refined sugar and artificial sweeteners. These aren't just random food tips. These are concrete steps that can significantly impact your urological health and comfort as you age. You might be surprised at the difference these seemingly small adjustments can make. Imagine fewer urgent dashes to the restroom, better sleep without multiple nighttime trips, and just a general sense of being more comfortable and in control of your body. These simple changes can help reduce bladder irritation, calm inflammation, support kidney function, and potentially ease prostate symptoms in men. Making these dietary shifts isn't about feeling deprived. It's about empowering yourself to live a more comfortable, confident life. It's about understanding that what you eat can truly affect how you feel, even in areas you might not have immediately connected to diet. And the best part, these changes often have positive ripple effects on your overall health: better digestion, more stable energy levels, and improved weight management. It all works together. Remember, your body is incredibly resilient and responsive. By making more mindful choices about the foods you eat, you're supporting your body's natural ability to function well, including your urinary system. Don't feel overwhelmed by the idea of changing everything at once. Pick one area to focus on first. Maybe start by being more conscious of processed foods. Or try reducing your morning coffee from 3 cups to 2. Celebrate the small victories and pay attention to how your body responds. You're the expert on your own body. And by listening to it and making these informed choices, you can really improve your quality of life. If you've tried making some dietary changes for your health, or if any of these foods resonate with the discomfort you've been feeling, I'd love to hear about it. Share your experiences or questions in the comments below. Your insights could help someone else who is going through something similar. And if you found this information helpful or learned something new, please give the video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on more tips and advice for living your best life at every age. Taking care of yourself is the most important thing you can do. And remember, small, consistent changes can lead to remarkable improvements in how you feel day to day. You deserve to live comfortably and confidently, embracing every moment. Live your best life at every age.